Hi everyone, I hope you're well. This is CoinsKid, just going over to Bitcoin. We've got a CoinsKid cruise. So we have ran into that sort of 18k area and we're starting to pull back a little bit. I think a lot of people think we're going to go down here. You know, we're looking at some kind of big capitulation event from here and that's it, we're cooked. I do think, looking at the charts, we could be in for another leg up, to be honest with you. I think that we might sort of get to around about the 19k mark, for Bitcoin. I did show you this yesterday, golden ratio 702 fib. I think we could push up to that after this correction that we're going through right now. And we've got this potential kind of last wave pushing us up to that sort of level before we do have a big correction, you know, coming back and retesting them lows down there around about 15.5k, isn't it? If we lose them, obviously I think the minimal target is 14k, and if we wick below that, I think 12k. But at that point, I think we could be done. I think that correction could be in right there, and we could be looking at the bottom being in, basically. So, you know, looking at this new, you know, calibrated rainbow chart just there, this is a pretty cool chart. It was pretty inaccurate, to be honest with you, in this cycle here, because we never got overboard. We never went into the red zone. We had that kind of big blow off top that we usually see for the Bitcoin price here. Okay, look at that blow off top, and this is something I was expecting, to be honest with you, when we got this pullback last year, coming back into this sort of pullback into the 28k mark. I expected a blow off top by November, but we sort of came up, made a slight higher high, and then boom, drop. So right now I think that since this point here, this was your actual cycle top, and you've been in this big irregular ABC correction, and you're right now you're in the C leg. Okay, not necessarily a big impulsive move down from the top. I think we are in the C leg here, and I'm seeing a lot of confidence to that in other charts, not just Bitcoin. So it's a case of, where is the bottom? Where is it? When is it? I can't tell you, you know, everyone can guess where it's going to go, but one thing, we're looking at this sort of new evaluated, calibrated rainbow chart version 2 that we are right now, basically in the fire sale. Okay, so if we start to zoom out here, let's look at Bitcoin going forward, because there's a woman called Cathie Wood who's projecting that Bitcoin will be valued at roughly $1 million per coin by 2030, which is literally 8 years away, isn't it? So it doesn't feel like it'll ever be that value, to be honest with you. But if this thing keeps going up exponentially and slowing down, you can clearly see that if we come along here and we look at the valuation, at the minute that's $250,000. If we get all the way up to, say, I don't know, keep going, 2030, let's see where we get to. 2030, is it even possible given the cycles? I don't know. So if we look at 2030, where are we? Roughly there. Then we're up there, sort of $1 million, aren't we? So she could be right, you know, if the cycles are working out like this, you know, every 4 years we have this peak to peak cycle sort of thing. If it does this, you know, you could say the next peak is in 2025, roughly there, and then another 4 to 5 years later you've got another peak, which 2029, 2030, and you could be up there at, say, $1 million. So roughly, where would the peak be if we do peak out in the next cycle at 2025? We could be up there at, say, you know, pushing 280, 300k. It's absolutely possible, isn't it? You know, and I think that it's impossible, and it won't happen if this thing starts to come down and it loses this blue line here and starts to come down, and you know, you've got your confirmation of death cross on a monthly and things like that, and we're just in this projected long bear market from this point. We don't necessarily rally into the halvening, because you can clearly see we sort of rally into the halvening every time. This blue line is the Bitcoin halvening. That basically means that Bitcoin becomes more scarce. Okay, so when it halves, usually it's a trigger for an impulsive move. Look at the trigger there for the big rush, the trigger there for the big rush. So the halvening has always had an effect on Bitcoin, because obviously scarcity drives demand and things like that, you know, but there's absolute zero guarantees here. So, you know, going forward, if Bitcoin starts to bottom out this month, or it's bottomed already, or over the next couple of months here for Bitcoin, and we do just continue in these cycles, then theoretically we should see some upside leading into 2023, a pullback leading into 2024, and then as we hit this thing, the halvening, which is expected in 2024, we should begin the big impulsive move off that, the big potential third wave impulsive move. You can clearly see that this is what comes. So again, it's all patience, isn't it? It's a waiting game. I know a lot of people are thinking that Bitcoin's cooked here because of the macro environment, and this is the reason why Bitcoin never went overbought and, you know, came all the way up to them levels right there. It's a possible theory, you know, but who knows? No one's got a crystal ball. But one thing I do know, people are getting bored right now. Okay, people are getting bored. You know, not just my view count, but a lot of people's view counts on YouTube are down. People are switching off. People are getting bored. They're watching other things and not paying attention. And usually that is quite a contrarian view, that the fact that we could actually be at the bottom or somewhere close to the bottom because of all the negativity and the negative sentiment about Bitcoin and crypto. You know, I've got this FTX scandal just here, so that's pushed us down. A lot of people are not really trusting exchanges, and they're scared of putting the money on exchanges and things like that. Again, that's contributing to the negativity and the fear. But You know, I've always believed that Bitcoin just does what it wants to do. It will just do what it does. Okay, so at the minute we have to pay attention to the cycles. So theoretically, Bitcoin should really be bottom out around about here. Okay, and if it doesn't, like I said to you, from the start of 2023 to the end of 2023, if we see Bitcoin negative, you know, that it's not had any appreciation whatsoever, then the cycles are broken, isn't there? We've gone through this with you many times. So, you know, it could be a golden opportunity. I wish I could tell you that exactly it is. Down here, it wouldn't have felt like an opportunity. Down here, I know it didn't feel like an opportunity down there. Down there wouldn't have felt like an opportunity, and there, but obviously we didn't have this chart in at that time. But, you know, going forward, we could look back, say this thing does start to ramp up, and, you know, you get onto the halving and you start that big impulsive move into 2025, and we get overbought again up here, you know, then you just look back at these levels and think, why wasn't I buying? Why wasn't I buying the fear? Why wasn't I buying the blood? You know, why wasn't I buying the opportunity? Because, like I've always said to you, opportunity never feels like opportunity. Okay, so I do think that the bottom is around here somewhere. Okay, around here somewhere. It could actually be in already. I've gone through this theory with you yesterday in the video, but right now let's dive into the Bitcoin charts and see what we can see. So looking at Bitcoin on the daily, we have ran into key resistances here. Off this low, we're retracing back up to this high for the continuation of a trend, okay? And if we obviously come down and we lose this zero fib, I think we're confirming another impulsive move. And I think your minimal target is around about $14,000 just there, okay? For me, for Bitcoin. So right now, there is a possibility that this is a low. I've gone through this with you yesterday. But what we need to see going forward is the structure of a bottom right now. So you've got key resistances above. You ran into 236. Resistance came back for support. You ran into 382. Came back for support. You run into the 050, so potentially come back for support. If this thing breaks again, I think these are your key levels of resistance just there. You've got the golden ratio at 18,950. You've got the 702 at 19,477. I think a massive statement from Bitcoin going forward is if you start to see Bitcoin closing above the 702 fib at $19,477 before losing the zero fib down here, this low that we put in November, I think you could begin to get excited about the bottom being in at that point, okay? And, you know, at this point, I would be looking for some kind of retracement. This retracement coming back off this resistance here, back down to this low, is what's going to give the game away for Bitcoin here. Whether or not this is another impulsive move to the downside, or this is an impulsive wave 1, this is a corrective wave 2, hold support, start to come back up and break all this resistance, okay, in this big potential wave 3, and this is your bottom just there coming up. That's a possibility, but we need to be patient and see what Bitcoin's going to do in the charts, okay? So you are running into resistance. This is normal. Okay, you ran into 236, sorry, coming back. You run into 382, consolidating between it like that, holding support. So right now you're potentially on the cusp of doing the same here. You could be looking at support on the 382 and the resistance of the 05 fib. The resistance is 18233. See that broken? I think your next resistance is a golden ratio at 18,950, but at the minute your key support for me is 17,544, and I think you might start to consolidate between this before attacking that golden ratio. And this is why I don't think that this particular move is done just yet, okay? So I know a lot of people at this point are saying Bitcoin's going to do that. It's absolutely possible, but at the minute I think you're just coming up the stairs slowly into resistance, falling back to key level support, okay? So that's basically Bitcoin. Hope you enjoyed that update. Stay healthy, stay strong, stay tuned. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.